The first of my 3 walks began at Alpud Fishing Harbour and Market. From the car park I took a shortcut over a small, well-trodden grassy path. It was around 3 in the afternoon and a beautiful autumn day. As soon as I stepped out from the car, I could hear the Arabic chatter of the fishermen and smell the sea air. I continued towards the harbour, enjoying the cool breeze, and stopped a while to listen. There was the soft rumbling engines of the traditional fishing boats, and the sea gently lapping against the shore. I could hear hammering in the distance, and from here I continued along the harbour, enjoying the sun. I sat for a while listening to the fishermen prepare to set sail, and I watched the boats gently bobbing up and down in the water, creating beautiful reflections. I too took some time to reflect on the purpose of this journey and why I'd chosen this area in particular. Here I continued walking and entered the meat market. I ventured into a store selling eggs and chicken meat, and the overwhelming stench of urine and birds hit me. I saw cages floor to ceiling housing sorry looking birds. It was surprisingly quiet, almost as if the birds knew their fate. I was very saddened by this, and I didn't stay too long. Passing through the meat market, I entered the fish market, which was noisy with voices and the hustle and bustle you'd expect from a busy market. Here is where I met this lovely Syrian fisherman selling his catch for the day. He happily chatted in Arabic with my husband while I browsed his wares. It was fish for dinner that night. Leaving the fish market, I came across a series of shops selling brightly coloured buckets, bowls and various household items. There was a strong smell of bleach coming from the shops, and in the background I could hear a group of people who had started to feed bread to a large shoal of fish in the nearby harbour. I continued along a shaded walkway housing a mixture of traditional and modern cafes and restaurants, and this beautiful teapot caught my eye, as did the ornate arabesque decoration of the stove it sat on. It seemed to represent the quintessential picture of Kuwaiti traditional culture. It was then I came across this butcher, out on his cigarette break, and he kindly agreed to have his picture taken. I had at this point gathered an audience of curious waiters who wanted their pictures taken too, but it was this guy with his fabulous moustache and his kind eyes that I thought best represented my journey. I continued along the walkway towards a modern shopping centre when the lighting caught my attention. The dappled sunlight danced on the walls and it felt very serene. I could smell the scent from the shisha pipes in a nearby cafe, and the smell of Arabic coffee made this a lovely place to stop for a while. Entering the shopping centre, I looked up to see a beautiful arabesque skylight. The strong scent of bakhor filled the air from a store selling the Arabic incense. I could hear children laughing and mobile phones ringing, making this a real mixture of old and new. The next day I chose to take my second walk at an area called Kuwait Magic. This is a very conservative Bedouin area, with most ladies choosing to wear full niqab, so I really stand out from the crowd here. But this day we were almost alone. It was very peaceful and the ocean breeze was really pleasant. I walked out onto the beach and found 2 sets of animal footprints. I'm not sure why, but the poem The Owl and the Pussycat came to mind. I stood a while trying to recall the words, unsuccessfully I might add, but the light was really beginning to fade and it was casting some lovely shadows. I felt very relaxed here. As I walked on, I saw a bedraggled feather on the ground. I wondered if it had belonged to the bird whose path I'd followed a few minutes earlier. Even though it was broken and matted, I found it beautiful and I felt a real sense of freedom at this moment. The light was dimming further, so I continued along the beach. As the light was so lovely, I decided to take some shots of my husband. I was too nervous to ask for pictures of any of the locals here, as it's more conservative. But I had a willing Arabic model and he didn't complain too much. It was very peaceful and calm, but that peace was soon about to be broken. Meet Mrs. Camel, and here's how she greeted us. Her owner was preparing her to give camel rides for that evening, but she didn't seem too pleased about it. So we moved on along the seafront. Came across a go-kart track, sitting empty, waiting for the children to arrive. Kuwait very much comes alive at night. By day, this area was quite eerie and still. There was a real sense of anticipation, expectation that something was gonna happen. I then entered the fun fair with its old, poorly maintained rides. The fairground workers were just opening the stalls, but as yet there were no customers. By this point, it was starting to get quite cold, so I continued my walk down towards the end of the beach. As I walked down the steps from the fairground, I saw a horse-drawn carriage approaching, carrying happy-looking children. The carriage was just about to turn around as I took this image, and it occurred to me that this horse took the same walk again and again, every single day. Towards the end of the beach, I saw this beautiful driftwood, the branch looking like a comforting arm, a shoulder to cry on. When I approached, I felt like crying because the whole area was covered in litter. It was really dirty. I was quite dismayed by this, and I decided it was probably time that we went home. Just as I was turning to leave, something bright caught my eye. And as I looked closer, I saw a tiny yellow flower amongst the wood and the garbage. I felt a little bit of hope, and that my day's walk had a much nicer ending. At this point, I realised how cold my hands were, and that it was time for a cup of tea. How very British of me.